Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining me. Welcome to my Monday messages. I'm Rebecca, and I use QTT personal development methods, coaching, mentoring, and homeopathy to help you and your family be as healthy and as happy as you can be, and stay that way. So, what are my Monday messages about? Well, really, it's about me popping in here every Monday, strangely enough, hence the name, and just setting a theme, an idea, a thought, a little simple practice, something that can underpin everything you do for the course of the coming week, and that ultimately will mean that you feel more in control of your life, more in control of your feelings, and you are able to respond in an appropriate way to any circumstance or situation, rather than reacting in a kind of knee-jerk way. So I wanted to talk today about some little tweaks that we can do to just give ourselves a little bit of a moment to really be a bit more conscious about the things that we say automatically, or the things that we do, or the feelings that we feel to any kind of outside stimulus. And first of all, actually, I should say, I can see that there's a couple of people on. I can't see who you are, but if you can let me know that you can hear me, okay, that would be really, really handy. So just send me a thumbs up, or smiley face, or give me a comment. I don't mind. It would be lovely to know that you can hear me. So that would be helpful. So, okay, so what prompted me to think about this was a couple of things over the last week or so. And one of the things was that I've had to make a few quite difficult decisions. Well, I shouldn't say just me and my husband, actually. We've had to make some quite difficult financial decisions due to things happening to the house that we hadn't foreseen, things that needed replacing, needed upgrading. We just hadn't seen them coming, basically, and they got to a stage where we needed to do something about it, and that meant that I had to cancel or refuse or say no to quite a few other plans that I had to work with people further, to go and work with people doing workshops or courses that I really wanted to do for my own personal development. And I kind of felt within a few minutes of having to make those decisions that I came to a place where I could have gone down into a sort of spiral of negativity. I heard that little voice inside me going, oh my God, why do I have to make these kind of decisions? Why haven't I got enough money to do both? It's not fair. Life is really hard. I'm going to be far worse off by not doing these courses, not doing these workshops. I'm going to be hard done by, basically. So that was the sort of spiral that I was about to take a step towards. And then I thought, okay, no, because I've been practicing this sort of thing for a while, I was able to just stop and say, okay, there's got to be another way of looking at this. What positive learnings can I take out of this situation? Excuse me. And one of the obvious ones to me was, well, why am I in this position? Why have we not got some kind of account going that we put into on a regular basis, and that we can, we know is sitting there for things like this. Now, we do that a little bit, but we didn't have enough in there. So actually, the positive learning for me, one of them was, well, we actually need to review that. We need to review how much money we're putting into things like those savings pots to factor for the unforeseen expenses. So that's one thing. The other thing I realised fairly swiftly was that I was kind of wanting to do these workshops again as a sort of knee-jerk response. It was an automatic thing. I love doing them, will always love doing them, and I will always look to expand my skills. However, I have done a lot of that work, a lot of learning over the last couple of years. And I think everything was pointing towards me just taking that learning and actually working with it a bit and expanding it and getting comfortable with it, and being able to implement it in a way that worked for me. And I don't need anyone else to do that. I can do that by myself. So it wasn't necessarily all negative. There was something that I could actually recognise was actually quite a positive thing in this situation that came up. So it immediately took me away from that, oh, poor me, I'm such a victim mode, and made it quite a positive thing. It was quite a thing that it became suddenly, it was, okay, I'm happy with that. That's a decision that I've made, that it's all right for me not to do that additional work. So I wasn't sucked into being a victim and feeling very negative about everything. So that's one thing that I would encourage you to do, is even when situations are seemingly, very challenging and quite negative, and obviously they can be much, much more so than that, but try not to let yourself go into a spiral of negativity and end up in a place where you feel that life is terrible, and then it just happens to you and you have no control, and that there's nothing you can do about that, because there always is something you can do about it. Even if it's not necessarily changing the actual circumstances, you can always change how you look at it, how you feel about it, more importantly. And that can make a big difference to how you lead your life on a daily basis. So there are several ways of doing that. One of the first things that I think is really, really handy is to recognise that we do have a sort of automatic knee-jerk reaction to certain things, certain triggers. So, for example, if we get asked to do something, we get asked to take on some responsibility, to do something, to do a task, to be helpful in some way. Sometimes you can find yourself saying, yes, of course I'll do that. Of course I'll do that. No problem. And then an hour later thinking, what on earth was I thinking about? I haven't got time to do that. Or even, actually, I don't really want to do that. What made me say yes? And that can be a helpful process in itself, because if you start to think, well, actually, why did I say yes? Was it because I didn't want to offend the person who was asking? I didn't want to let them down. Is that working for me? Am I perhaps saying yes too much to things without really taking on board the effect that they have on me? And you can decide at that point, do I actually want to proceed with saying yes? Or do I want to actually say, I'm really sorry, I can't help you at this point? So in order to do that, we often need a bit of time. And I think often we kind of know what our triggers are. We might already know that we have a tendency to take on too much, that we find it very difficult to say, no, I can't do that. So if that is hard for you, I would suggest that you practice just giving yourself a bit of time. So rather than going, yes, of course I'll do that, it's okay to actually say, do you know what? I just have to check a couple of things and I'll get back to you on that. I'll get back to you in an hour, a day, a week, whatever is appropriate to the circumstance that you're in. So then you can actually really have a good think about, is it going to be a positive thing for you to say yes, or is it actually more positive to say no? Maybe for both parties. Equally, some of us can take on far too much because we don't want to let people down. And that can mean that we end up taking on too much and feeling overwhelmed and burnt out. Equally, if there's a lot of fear or anxiety about doing things right, or feeling that you can't do things, your knee-jerk response might be, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. That's too much. So if anybody suggests anything and you're already feeling like you're a bit overwhelmed, your knee-jerk response, because it's there to protect you, is going to be, no, can't do that. And again, an hour later, I have somebody in my family who is like this, actually. An hour later, the response might be, actually, why did I say no to that? Actually, I quite like to do that. And actually, if I move this or do this, I can do it quite easily. Good morning, Ev. Lovely to see you. I'm going to press the little wave symbol there. So hopefully you'll get a wave. So just talking about knee-jerk responses to things and just being aware, being more conscious of those kind of reactions, whether you have a tendency to say yes to too many things or whether you have a tendency to say no to too many things. I mean, obviously, if you are deciding an hour later that you've said something, that you've agreed to something that you didn't want to do, or you've said no to something you didn't want to say no to, there's nothing wrong with saying, actually, I've changed my mind. So that's good learning in itself. But the possibly the more conscious thing to do, certainly when you're beginning, is to actually just buy yourself a little bit of time by saying, I need to check my diary. I've got a couple of other things on around that time, so I'm not quite sure. Let me get back to you. And then that's already just loosens the grip that your automatic reaction has on those sort of triggers, if that makes sense. And it makes you much more aware of why you're reacting in that way and whether it's actually working for you or not. So the other thing that we spoke about earlier on was finding positive learnings from any situation, and that changes the way you feel about the situation that you're in. So all of these things are just about broadening your understanding of how you react to things and recognizing that actually you have a choice and that you can choose to go into that negative spiral, or you can choose to do something a bit different. And it may have to be conscious to begin with, but very quickly, remarkably quickly, that way of responding rather than reacting becomes kind of second nature. And it really does make a difference to how you feel about your life on a daily basis. It also, I think, helps to understand other people's knee-jerk responses. But mind your language around that, because I know often we can say, oh, my husband always does that, and actually we need to stop and have a think about that language too, because always is a strong term. And it really, the reason we choose language like that is because it confirms something that we are already thinking is the truth. And it's not always true. It's very at the moment, especially, to wake up in the morning and go, oh God, it's raining again. It's always raining in Ireland. And of course, it isn't always raining in Ireland. And if we go down into that spiral, it can mean that we feel terrible about looking outside the window, that we have no control over it, which of course we don't over the weather. We don't have control over that. So why would we let the weather dictate whether our day is going to be a positive one or a negative one? But actually finding some positive in the fact that it might be raining for the 4th day in a row can be very valuable. For me, I actually quite like it at the moment, because when the weather is good, when it's sunny and blue skies and it's beautiful outside, whether it's cold or it's warm, all I want to do is be outside. So it means that I'm actually finding it more challenging to get on and do the projects that I need to do. So I know if I can kind of really get a couple of weeks going where I can get on top of the project that I'm working on at the moment, then when the long days come along, the warmer weather, the time when I really, really want to be outside, I will be able to do that. Because I've done this, I've invested in this time right now. So that's the way I think about it at the moment. Obviously, you can have, you will have different views on that. So positive learning. So whatever the situation is, what can I learn from it? Even if it's, God, I'm never going to do that again, or I'm never going to have things in place that allow that situation to happen again. That's a positive learning. So that's another thing. And asking yourself whether things are true. I think kids are really good at doing this, actually. You know, however many of you have had children, the number of times you've heard them say, but everyone else is doing that, or everyone else's parents are saying yes. You know, why can't I? They're not doing what I would call lying. They're just generalizing to support the truth that they want. And it's not only children that do that, it's adults as well. We all do it. We all say and do things. We use our language to support whatever it is that we want to communicate, or whatever truth we think is out there that kind of supports how we want to feel about something. So just checking yourself about when you say things like always or everyone, what do we actually mean by that, and is it actually true? Because as soon as we recognise that it isn't actually true, it's a bit of a sweeping statement, it's a bit of a wild generalisation, then it allows for the actual truth to be something a little bit different. And that's what it's all about, really. It's about having choices. And as soon as you recognise that you do actually have a choice in the way that you feel about things and the way that you respond to situations or circumstances, then it is taking your power back. It's recognising that you've got this. You can be the creator of how your day goes. Nobody else, not the weather, not your husband, not your children, not your boss, you. So it's never what happens to us, it's how we respond to what happens to us. So that's why some people can just go around with a happy smile on their face for the whole time, no matter what happens. And other people are really, really thrown down by it. Now, obviously, there's a balance between those two things. And I'm very conscious that I don't want anyone to go away thinking that feeling hurt or upset or angry are negative things that you shouldn't feel. Not true at all. They all have a purpose. What I'm hoping to encourage is that we don't stay in those quite negative emotions for too long, that we can express them if they are appropriate, but that we're not dependent on others for how we feel, because we have that choice. And I'm going to just end on a rather topical example, which is the good old coronavirus. I'm not going to go into it in detail because now's not the time. But I was very interested in, I've been very conscious of the fact that there is so much fear around the coronavirus worldwide, so much fear mongering going on, largely by the media. And a lot of people that I meet on a day-to-day basis are extremely worried and anxious by it. And there have been some actually very responsible, very good broadcasts, especially on the radio actually recently, with scientists, with doctors, consultants, all the rest of it, who are all saying, we need to calm down a bit about this. It's not actually, as bad as everyone's making it out to be, that there are certain things you can do to protect yourself, such as, staying away from infected people, recognizing that it is spread by it's sneezing. So therefore, things like washing your hands, all the rest of it, do that. Do sensible things, really. And if you do think you're ill, then quarantine yourself, basically. But the symptoms are pretty similar to any other flu or cold. The majority of people recover, and the death toll is actually very minimal compared to a lot of other things. All stuff I completely agree with. But when these people are asked, well, what can we do to protect ourselves? What could we do to enhance our ability to not fall prey to serious illness? The answer is usually, well, nothing really. Just wash your hands and, be hygienic. My view of health is very different from that. And I do not believe that we are all victims and that these diseases are just things that just are floating about in the air and they just land on us, by chance, and that there's nothing we can do to prevent it. We can do an awful lot to build our immune system and make us as healthy and as strong as we can be. And if we are, then we are much better able to not do the disease at all, or to do it in a very, very mild way so that it's done and dusted and doesn't affect us like any kind of cold or minor flu. The things that we can do are do things like taking echinacea, which has been proven to boost the immune system and to enhance the action of your blood. We can do things like take vitamin C. We can certainly look at, well, actually, am I as healthy as I could be? Am I eating as healthily as I could be? Am I eating lots of fresh fruit and vegetables, staying away from the processed foods, minimizing my sugar intake, all of those things? Am I perhaps drinking a bit too much alcohol? Am I maybe not eating as much food as I should be, or as often as I should be, or the other way around? Am I drinking enough water? Am I what else? Am I getting enough sleep? Major thing. Am I getting enough fresh air and exercise? Those are all kind of building block things that we need to be as healthy as we possibly can. So if this fear of the coronavirus means that all of us are going to start looking at our own healthcare better, that we're taking a bit more responsibility, that we're understanding that prevention is always better, easier and cheaper than cure, then that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. And also understanding that if we are in a state of fear and anxiety, that has a physical effect on us as well as an emotional effect. It lowers our energy, and it means that we're actually much more likely to fall prey to any kind of rogue opportunists opportunistic bacteria or pathogens that are out there. You know that when you get low, you're much more likely to do a cold or a cough or, whatever, tummy upset, whatever. Much more likely to get ill if you're in a low state. So if you're in a permanent state of anxiety or fear, that's going to make your immune system lower than it should be. So if you find that it's really, really playing on you and that you're not able to come out of that on your own, then perhaps it would be better to go and work with somebody who can help you with that. Obviously, for me, that would be homeopathy excels at that kind of work. Because it's looking at your physical health, your emotional health, and your spiritual health. And it's also coupled with things like simple dietary advice, looking at lifestyle choices and tweaking them so that we can get them as good as we can get them. But you might choose that you want to go to your GP for a kind of checkup, a health checkup. If you think, well, I'm not really feeling as healthy as I could, then maybe you might want to go and have a sort of health NCT or MOT if you're in the UK. You can do that with a homeopath, you can do that with a GP, you can do it with a herbalist, you can do it with whatever choice of healthcare method resonates best with you. But taking that responsibility and always being conscious of the fact that there's always something you can do to boost your immunity means that you're not a hapless victim. You're not somebody who's just going to sit on their hands and wait for things to happen to them. You're going to take control. You're going to be in the driving seat and you're going to do whatever you can do to make sure that that doesn't happen. And that makes a massive difference to how you feel about your life on a daily basis. So it's those kind of things that I'm asking you to practice this week. Is just be very conscious of how you're reacting to things. Are you reacting or are you responding in a way that supports you in a healthy way and helps you to feel in control of your life? So I hope that's been helpful to you. If you do have any comments or reactions, send them my way. I'd love to hear from you. If you think, well, yes, I would like to work further actually on some issues that I'm having, whether that's to do with the coronavirus or not, it doesn't matter, then pop onto my site. The address is in the post with this video, and you can register for a free call and we can have a chat about how I might be able to help you. And if you have enjoyed it and you'd like to join me every week at 10 o'clock on Monday for Monday Messages, please do. The more, the merrier. And it's not too late if you're watching the replay. So post your questions. Love to hear how you get on. Love to hear if you have any issues that come up or find anything a bit more difficult than you thought or easier than you thought. Let me know. Okay, have a lovely week, being very conscious of how you're responding to things. Take care. Bye.